Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Today, I'm Josh Evanoff. He is the one and only Angel Ortega. It is a big week, ladies and gentlemen. Lots of UFC, lots of Bellator fight announcements, but most importantly, we have a YouTuber fighting Ben Askren. However, before we get into that and more, I want to talk to you guys about Manscaped. Support for the Courtside Soundoff podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. We have an exclusive offer for our listeners, and that is 20% off plus free shipping with the code Courtside20 at manscaped.com. Once again, folks, get 20% off and free shipping with the code Courtside20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off of free shipping at manscaped.com and use code Courtside20. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Last Saturday morning, for some reason, from the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada, deja vu all over again, my friend. Marvin Vettori out wrestling Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland making history for his second straight loss in 21 days. That is a record tied only with the one and only former middleweight champion Michael Bisping, who did it back in 2017. Unfortunate history to make there. However, it was not particularly surprising. Kevin Holland, I will say, he did impress me at times. There wasn't a whole lot of talking, and he did, he nearly pulled off the upset at a couple of different points. Particularly early, I thought he won the first round, and then he nearly knocked out Vettori in the fifth round. He nearly got the Hail Mary comeback, hit him with a straight right down the pipe that you could tell wobbled Vettori. Vettori ended up getting the takedown, though, and ended up riding out the round. Ended up securing the judges' scorecard victory, 50-44 on all cards. Didn't necessarily agree, but, with the scorecards themselves, but I did agree with the result. Angel, man, were you at all surprised? And what were just general thoughts on Vettori picking up the win?
I mean, Josh, I have never felt so confident. I could have bet my life savings, my house, my life, someone else's life, and probably half of a country for Marvin Vettori to win this fight confidently. There was no surprise.
No surprise. Well, listen, in that case, if hypothetically say you bet your house, how tight is your butthole in that fifth round, my man? I mean, it was
not at all, dude. I'm still confident.
You still thought he was gonna pull it? I thought it looked pretty bad. I'm gonna be honest, man. I mean,
for a second, I was like, I reacted, but I was like, nah, we got it. We're fine.
Yeah, he did recover almost immediately. I mean, at that point, as a Holland fan, man, that hurt. You guys gotta remember, man. I gave this guy my fighter of the year last year.
Yeah, what a mistake. No, I was kidding.
I mean, no, I don't think so. I still think he's still a good guy. And I think the fact that that even stepped up to take this fight shows a lot about his character and how he is as a fighter and so on and so forth. Still, though, I was not even the least bit surprised. The only thing I was surprised about is that he nearly got the finish in the fifth. That was the only thing I was surprised about. Disappointing, but, I mean, where do you think both of these guys go from here? I mean, for Vettori, right now we're at a middleweight stand. Still, obviously, Izzy's coming off a loss. We got a fight coming up that we're going to talk about that's happening on this Saturday. And then where do you think Vettori kind of fits into the title picture, as well as Holland, man? I mean, this is his second straight loss, both in very similar fashion to top 10 guys. So where does he move?
I mean, dude, if Whitaker pulls it out, this upcoming Saturday night, I mean, I think, without a doubt, you got to give it to Robert Whitaker. Kelvin wins. Well, fuck. That just fucked everything up. I think Marvin Vettori should fight Derek Brunson. They both lost to Izzy. They're both kind of riding the same streak. They both beat Holland. Marvin Vettori did it more impressively, and I thought Kevin brought a better fight to Marvin, even though they had fought. Kevin had fought not too long ago, and pretty much kind of the same thing occurred, but it was different. It seemed like Kevin actually put more effort and care into this fight. I feel like that makes sense for the eliminator because they both lost to the guy. They both beat the same guy recently. They're both riding the same kind of streak. I think Marvin has maybe a couple better wins. I don't know. But I don't know. You can argue it, right? At this point,
Yeah.
I have my opinions. I mean, Derek, they're almost even, I'd say. I mean, they beat the same guy recently, and they're both coming off. They're both on the same streak. I think it makes sense to match up those two guys. Whoever wins that, you got your second guy. And if you're really wanting to fight again, then there's your guy to fight Paulo afterwards. Or either one of these guys could fight Paulo, and then they could get the title shot.
Yeah, man. And as far as it goes, you have to give it to Whitaker if he wins this Saturday night, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's probably the most likely option. That being said, I mean, we'll get into the fight analysis in a couple of minutes. I don't want to say anything before that. But yeah, man, that whole picture is a little bit messed up. I was sitting here thinking about this fight, and obviously the fight happening this weekend as well. And just thinking, damn, man, Izzy's really going to be facing, no matter who comes out of this whole situation right now, Izzy's going to be fighting somebody in a rematch, whether that be Whitaker, Gastelum, Brunson, or Vettori. And if I were to rank those four as far as having, title shot implication, like who I would stat, right? Like I'd have to go Whitaker 1, Brunson 2, Gastelum 3, and then Vettori 4. Vettori, I don't see him getting a title shot. I know he wanted one after this fight. I don't think he gets it just because of how bad Kevin Holland has looked in his last two, to where it's kind of like, oh, I mean, Holland's coming on short notice. There's a lot of different factors. Wasn't that impressive, so on and so forth, in terms of getting the finish or being that entertaining, which we know Dana hates guys like that. So we'll see what happens, man. Middleweight's very interesting right now. So, I mean, we'll see what happens moving on. As far as Holland, man, you got to give him to somebody like lower ranked, at least now. I mean, there's only so many times we could watch this happen. There's so many dudes at middleweight that aren't ranked that we could see him have a lot of fun with. So we'll see what happens. As far as the co-main, man, I mean, we're talking about dudes passing the test. Arnold Allen, Sadiq Youssef, clear win for Allen, man. Now bumped up to number 8 in the rankings, 29-28 in all Georgia scorecards. Very impressive win. What do you think about him getting the dub in the co-main?
That was impressive. He came out and did it. I had picked him. I did have some doubts a little bit, but ended up working out. So good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Prove the haters wrong, because I think he had a lot of doubt. Even when he was, there was a good amount of people who were favoring him. There was always there was not self-doubt, but there was doubt from people, some media and some public people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, as far as that goes, I was not particularly that surprised, but I was impressed with the way he did it. It was 29-28, but I don't think that really shows how much of a beating Allen put on him at times. I've never been particularly high on Sadiq Youssef. I mean, he obviously was 11-1 before this, but I did think he lost to Andre Fili. So now he's back to 11-2. He'll be back, but damn, dude, huge props to Arnold Allen. I mean, really high on this kid for a long time, and it's good to see him get that win and get that shine in the co-main of a big ABC card. As far as the rest of the card, man, I mean, there's a lot of fights to talk about here. Which ones do you want to highlight?
Dude, we got a heartbreaking, man. The York De Castro loss. I mean, you knew someone was getting knocked out. How do you even pronounce this man's name, Josh?
You want me to go for it?
Yes.
Yaris Dano, I think.
Yes. So after what, 4 years away?
5 years off, my man.
He came back. What a banger, right? But the guy's 37. I really don't know what direction his career takes from here. He's 7-1. Josh, I'm surprised we didn't talk about this at the time.
I'll be honest with you, man. I forgot he ever fought in the UFC, so it wasn't necessarily a big deal for me. Like, I literally, looking at his name, like, on the Wikipedia page whenever we talk about the fights, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's some UFC newcomer or something. Like his only fights were a loss to Daniel Oleonchuk, who I don't even think is in the UFC anymore.
I haven't heard that name in forever.
Right? He's been gone for quite a while. And then a draw with Christian Colombo. Also no longer the UFC. So that just kind of goes to show, man. I mean, this dude's not been around for a while. Never in a million years would I expected him to get like a highlight reel knockout over Jorgen De Castro. He's been having a rough streak here lately. Dude's a gamer, though. I mean, at one point he was 6-0 with 5 knockouts before, having the Greg Hardy fight and the Felipe fight. So, I mean, stuff happens.
He comes out to get banged, bro. He either gets a highlight or is the highlight.
Yeah, so I hope he's not gone after this one, because I'm a big Jorgen guy. His story's
like him
great.
Too.
Yeah.
I really do think they're gonna cut him though, not too long from now.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, it's heartbreaking.
But speaking of heartbreak, dude, your boy, Platinum Mike Perry coming up short in the main card opener. That was tough to watch at times.
It was.
D-Rod put a beating on him.
He did. Good for D-Rod, though, right?
Yeah, D-Rod's one. He's a good dude. He's a good dude. I'm happy to see him have success, but damn, that sucked, man.
He has one more fight on his contract. He talked about it and how he has to buckle down. So we'll see what happens in his next fight and if the UFC decides to extend his contract or not.
Yeah, and here's the thing. For all people talk about Mike Perry, man, for all of the negative things people say about Mike Perry, let me go ahead and say that. For all of the negative things, at one point, and he even said this, I think, in his Instagram post, at one point he was great. You know what I mean? He was destined for greatness. He was coming into the UFC with not necessarily a lot of hype, but he knocked out 2 dudes in a row. He had a banger of a fight with Alan Jouban. At one point, he was like 4-1, only lost to Jouban, and Jouban's a motherfucker as well, you know? I mean, and he was getting put in co-mains all the time against Ponzinibbio and Cerrone, so on and so forth. He was destined for greatness, and now he's just, you know, 1 win in his last 5 fights, and the one guy he beat was Mickey Gall, you know? So it's a tough streak, to say the least. He's going backwards in terms of MMA, like in terms of just his skills, man. Like I'm not saying he 100% would have beaten a guy like D-Rod like a couple of years ago, but I think it would have been at least competitive. He
would have put it on him.
Mm-hmm. For sure. But as far as people getting put on him, dude, Julian Marquez picking up a nice win. It really sucked to see friend of the podcast, Sam Alva go out like that. That's probably the end of his UFC career, which does suck because he's always been, you know, a fan favorite guy. Step up on short notice, fight multiple weight classes. He's that dude. But dude, shout out KCMO's Julian Marquez and calling out the Kansas City Chiefs following the victory. He's always getting viral for those moments lately. I mean, he did fumble the ball a lot with Miley Cyrus, that whole thing. But I mean, we'll see what happens with the Chiefs thing now. But and then obviously the only other, I'd say the main fight of note, Mackenzie Dern picking up a nice win over Nina Nunes, and now she is into the top 5 of women's strawweight, dude. Happy to see Mackenzie Dern come back, and just ever since having her child, she's come back with like a renewed focus, and she just looked dominant, man. None of her fights,
man.
So yeah, man. But as far as that goes, it's awesome to see. But Angel, there was more MMA last week. Now I will go ahead and preface the fights we're about to talk about. As far as the main co-main, we talked shit on the UFC's main event. Bellator was not much better. Regardless, though, Ryan Bader, Lyoto Machida going to a decision. Bader picking up a dominant win in the rematch against Machida. Machida having some success early. Really just keeping his distance. Bader said that it was pretty much on purpose and that just trying to, you know, get a read on Machida, trying to get inside, find his range. Eventually he did, and he just beat the shit out of 42-year-old Lyoto Machida for the last 4 rounds. What do you think about Bader's win and moving on to the light heavyweight Grand Prix?
I mean, it was a good win, man. He did what he had to do. Exactly, like, what he did was the exact image of what I thought was going to happen to the T. Dude, but Machida got fucking brutalized, man. He really did. It was fucking heartbreaking. It was a little sad to watch. Especially
after that first round, too. Because he looked pretty damn good in that first round. I know Bader said that he's being cautious. But I really thought after that first round, and Bader didn't really even, I'd say the first half of round 2 was also Machida's. I was like, oh, damn, is Machida going to pull off an upset here? I mean, I thought Machida should have won his last 2 fights. Let me go ahead and say that as well. I mean, Machida's still game. But nah, man, this is just all Bader down the stretch, picking up the win. And now we go ahead and wait to see what's going to happen. His side of the bracket, he's going to be facing the winner of Corey Anderson and Dovaslan Yaganbashirov, which is happening later tonight. So that's going to be awesome. As far as the co-main, man, I was kind of hyped for this one. Not a whole lot of action. Liz Carmouche picking up a win over Vanessa Porto. I mean, what'd you think, man? Nothing really happened. So I mean,
no, not very fun, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot to say. But Liz Carmouche, I assume she's in line for a title shot next. So we'll see, man. I mean, it's interesting, at least. But as far as the rest of the Bellator card, man, is there anything else we wanted to highlight?
The more highlights of disappointment out of anything, I'll put it like that. I mean, the one good thing to have Mackenzie got a win, but it was over someone he should beat, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, not too much exciting there.
Yeah, for sure, man. It was kind of disappointing to put it the least. I think I said last week, I was very, very excited for this card, even more than Bellator's first debut card. I apologize, I was wrong. This card was not that great. Obviously, Cat Zingano did pick up a win, and I am kind of intrigued by a Cat Zingano Chris Cyborg fight. And I assume that's going to be next. It has to be. I mean, unless, God forbid, Leslie Smith pulls off an upset, in which case then we'd have a trilogy, but let's be honest, dude, that's not going to happen. I mean, I love Leslie Smith. I really want to see that fight be competitive. I just don't know if it will. But that being said, man, I like to see Cat Zingano, Chris Cyborg next. I do think Cat Zingano Prime Zingano is one of the most interesting stylistic matchups for Cyborg. Obviously, we only saw Cyborg really lose once in her prime, and that was to Nunes. Zingano was a grappling machine, competent on the feet, and one of the great, I'd say the GOAT women's MMA chin. Really only, she was TKO'd once. It was via a head kick, which, like, Megan Anderson's, like, toe got into her eye. That was something ridiculous like that. And she took a beating from Nunes, still the last person to beat Amanda Nunes. I'm excited to see that fight happen when it goes down. But outside of that, that's the only positive thing I could say. Adam Borch, Jeremy Kennedy was a fun fight. But Dan Murray, Goichi Yamaguchi, man, that was so heartbreaking. That was a straight up robbery. Sometimes
robbery.
Yeah, we in MMA use the word robbery too much. That was a straight up robbery. That was not even remotely close for me. I thought that was a really clear win for Goichi Yamaguchi. But yeah, man, it is what it is. As far as fights going on this week, though, we got to keep it rolling, boys. I'm really excited for this UFC main event. Whittaker, Gastelum. Obviously, Robert Whittaker, Kelvin Gastelum. The third time they've been booked. They were scheduled 2 times before, obviously coming off of the Ultimate Fighter season. One of the last Ultimate Fighter seasons they did. And this is back whenever Whittaker was champion. He was going to go ahead and put the belt on the line against Gastelum. Obviously, we know the story. Whittaker pulls out on fight day. Gastelum ends up fighting Adesanya 2 months later. Has one of the greatest fights of all time. Here we are years later. Whittaker lost his belt to Adesanya in the title unification bout. Recovered since then, getting 2 amazing wins over top 5 guys. For some reason, still needs another one. And he's fighting Kelvin Gastelum, who's still in the top 5. Actually, he's actually ranked number 8, excuse me. Did lose 3 in a row following the Whittaker pullout. However, he did pick up a win over Ian Heinisch back earlier this year. So, my man, very interesting fight. Who do you got in this fight going down Saturday night?
Oh, dude, I'm picking the Reaper on this one. Robert Whittaker, a.k.a. Bobby Knuckles, dude. There's no doubt in my heart.
No doubt in your heart.
Absolutely not.
Fair enough, my man. Fair enough. I really want to see Whittaker pull this out, man. I thought in his... I don't want to say Gastelum's past his prime, but I do wonder if that Adesanya fight took some miles off of him, man. Because he had 2 fights after that, which he lost, and he didn't even look particularly bad. I mean, Hermansson fight was so quick, until fight, not a lot happened. The Heinisch one is the one that gave me a lot of pause, man. I'm going to be honest. He did not look great, even though he did get the victory. I got to go Whittaker here as well. I mean, back when that fight was going to happen years ago, I really thought, oh, yeah, Kelvin's a guy that can beat him. A lot of power in his hands, great grappling, great stamina. And that 1-2 is fast as shit. And Whittaker's a guy that likes to get in the pocket and trade. So that's a bad matchup for him. I would have picked Gastelum years ago, not now. I think Bobby Knuckles is going to pull it out, and God forbid, get this man a title shot. I'm not sure what more he will need to do. I know Izzy doesn't want to give it to him. I know Dana probably, I don't know how Dana's feelings are on it. I know Izzy does not want to give him a rematch because for some reason Israel Adesanya has this weird hatred of Robert Whittaker. I'm not sure if you ever picked up on that from any of the interviews that he's done or any of the press conferences. It's kind of funny because Whittaker's like one of the most unimposing, like, as far as MMA fighters, he's a really unimposing guy. He just plays like Fallout and he doesn't really do anything.
I'm pretty sure it's the Australia-New Zealand thing, dude. I think that's maybe what it is more than anything.
I don't know, man. But regardless, he needs that title shot, man. I mean, that's his only loss in God knows how many fights. I mean, he lost Izzy back in October 2019. Last loss before that was Wonder Boy in February 2014. So get that man a title shot after this dub. If not, then we got a whole kerfuffle at the top of 185. So we'll see what happens. Co-main event, man. Yeah, rest of this card's pretty interesting. We'll go ahead and talk about the co-main event first. Obviously, Jeremy Stephens, Drakkar Klose Stevens, longtime top 5, top 10 guy at featherweight. Looks pretty rough as of late. Now, he is facing excellent guys, but he has lost 4 of his last 5 to Yair Rodriguez, Calvin Kattar, Zabit, and Jose Aldo. Taking on Drakkar Klose, at one point, I would say one of the brighter prospects at 155. He wasn't just dominating dudes, but he was picking up nice victories, kind of showing that potential and just overall showcasing a lot. But that was years ago. Now he's kind of been a lot. He's been less active. He's coming off of a horrifying knockout against Benny Dariush. So I mean, both these guys not having the best of streaks coming into this co-main event, but the winner here could be in line to get a bigger name at 155 should they get the victory. Who do you got in the co-main event?
Dude, it's going to actually throw you off. I'm picking Jeremy Stevens for some reason.
Ooh.
I know he's coming off loss, but you know something? He's not bad by any means. He has good power, you know. But hey, for what it's worth.
What a glowing endorsement.
I know, right? For what it's worth, though, the guy comes out to bang. And I feel like he's going to come out to bang, and I think he can put out Drakkar Klose.
Okay. I'll say that's fair. I do think Drakkar Klose is going to put a beating on him, though. Not a beating, but I am going to take Klose probably via decision. He's a guy that's completely fine with making a fight boring if he needs to. I mean, and he's a very skillful, tactful guy who normally doesn't let himself get into the firefights. I don't think he's going to let it happen this time, especially after coming off a knockout to Benny Dariush. I'm going to go ahead and take Drakkar Klose here. But, you know, we'll see. As far as the rest of the card, my man, I mean, we talked about this off air. Not a whole lot to really talk about, but there is one fight in particular that I'm sure you're going to go ahead and point out. So go ahead.
Dude, Alexander Romanov, Juan Espino, Grappler's Delight, man. I'm excited for it. Both these guys can't strike for shit, but man, can they fucking bang it out on the ground.
Yeah, man, this is going to be an excellent fight, my man. I mean, obviously, Alexander Romanov, undefeated, 13-0, just an absolute monster. Obviously, coming out of Moldova, young guy, a lot of potential which we've seen in only a couple of UFC fights, but he's just looked so dominant to where you have to pay attention. You know what I mean? And he's taking on Juan Espino, former Ultimate Fighter winner. Took a couple of years off. He's 40 now, but he's still 11-1. And dude, he's got both these guys have so much potential. I love this fight so much. It's a grappler's delight, which you never see at heavyweight. So yeah, I mean, that's an awesome fight, and that's for some reason buried on the early prelims. I mean, that's kind of strange to me. It's behind Tracy Cortez, Justine Kish. So yeah. Yeah, man. As far as the rest of the card goes, not a whole lot there. I am excited for Luis Pena, Violent Bob Ross making his return. He's been a guy that he sometimes, man, he just shows up and sometimes he doesn't. Whenever he's at his best, he shows so much potential. I think of the Matt Wyman fight. I think of the Steven Peterson fight. He just looks so great sometimes, and then other times just very disappointing. But we'll go ahead and see him taking on Alexander Munoz on the opening fight on the main card, excuse me. As far as the fights, Jessica Pena making her return for the first time and seemingly forever. Jared Michard is back. Austin Hubbard's back. Anthony Birchak making his return against Tony Gravely. And then my man, Abdul Hazak Al-Hassan. I will never stop calling out this man. So much power in those fists. He has not looked great since returning due to an incident. But he's taking on Jacob Malkoun. Jacob Malkoun, 4-1, known for really just opening up the UFC 254 main card and getting knocked out immediately by Phil Hawes. So we'll see what happens there, man. Two of these dudes, I'm sure it's going to be a banger, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm very excited for that fight as well. And then also the man Arlovsky stepping in on short notice against Chase Sherman. So very interesting fight there as well. You'd love to see it. So as far as more MMA, Angel, we still got more, man.
I know, more. Dude. It doesn't stop, man.
It does not stop over here at Courtside Soundoff Entertainment. Vadim Nemkov, Phil Davis, the two headliners, Bellator 257 from the Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut. A rematch, this time for the light heavyweight title. And also to go ahead and send the winner to the next round in the Bellator Light Heavyweight Grand Prix. Obviously, Nemkov won the title from Ryan Bader back in August of 2020. Just dominant performance. The closest fight in his career was to Phil Davis. Phil Davis took a split decision. Vadim Nemkov took a split decision win over Phil Davis back in 2018. Both guys, obviously, since then, gone on a bit of different paths. Nemkov picked up 2 wins in a row against former middleweight champ Rafael Carvalho, and then defeated Ryan Bader in just a dominant performance. Nemkov picking up those big wins, obviously won the title, and now he is the champ. And I like Bellator's kind of thing in terms of this Grand Prix, to where now all fights are 5 rounds. If you're the champ, you have to keep on defending your belt. I know badass. It's really badass. And obviously Phil Davis, man, after that loss, he ended up beating Liam McGeary, who I'm a little bit surprised he's not in this in this Grand Prix they got going on. But regardless, we'll talk about the 2 fighters that also left in the Grand Prix, which I'm a little bit surprised that they did not sub him out for. But he did pick up a win over Liam McGeary, Carl Ubitrin, and then a split decision win over Leona Machida back in September of 2020. My man, very interesting fight here. Who do you got in the Bellator 257 headliner?
Man, I'm gonna pick the current champ, man, Vadim Nemkov, to once again retain the title and beat Phil Davis again.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I'm gonna go ahead and go same page. All those little things that I went back and rewatched the fight earlier this week of these two.
I did too.
And all those little things that Nemkov kind of had issues with grappling, just kind of striking at range, not really showcased. If the Bader fight's any indicator, and Bader was on a historic tear, right, before he ran into Nemkov, I'm thinking he's going to go put on like a levels to this performance against Phil Davis, man. And I'm a big fan of Phil Davis. I think since he's moved over to Bellator, he's gotten a lot bigger of a name for himself than he would have had he stayed in the UFC. I'm a big fan of the guy, but I do think it's going to be a tough night at the office. So I'm going to go ahead and go Vadim Nemkov and get the victory. Moving on in the tournament, take on the winner of Anthony Johnson and Joel Romero, happening next month. God damn, I can't wait. But
good.
So good. Co-main event though, also a banger. Corey Anderson, former UFC light heavyweight mainstay, made his Bellator debut last year, picking up a win over Melvin No Mercy Manhoff. Very depressing, but he did pick up the victory in a TKO in the second round, taking on former ACB champion Davtoslan Yagalmashirov, making his Bellator debut. He's kind of the dark horse in this thing, my man, but he's a very talented guy. So who do you got in the co-main event?
Dude, I've been looking into this, man. It's gonna be out there, man. But I'm making another interesting pick this week, man. I'm picking our boy Yagalmashirov to come in for the upset, man. Actually, I think it's actually even on the line, isn't it? Or closer?
Anderson's slight favor is what I last saw on the line.
Yeah, so, yeah, man, he's a dark horse in this tournament. It was at first, for when this first kind of got announced, I'm like, who is this? I didn't know anything about him. I looked into it. Man's running a little streak right now. He's super talented from what I know. He fought one Magomed Ankalaev back in the day. It took him to a decision. I don't know if you know that, Josh, back in 2014. It's been years. At the time, Magomed had 2 fights. That ended up being his 3rd win. Good win, by the way. That's not aged well. But yeah, man, I'm picking the man himself.
Yeah, man. I also did my research on this man.
Right?
I'm also taking Yags. I'm also taking my boy Davtoslan Yagalmashirov coming out of Turkmenistan. Just watching all of his fights from ACA, he's a really bad matchup for Corey Anderson. And whenever they first announced this tournament, I was like, damn, why isn't Liam McGeary in here? Why isn't this guy in here? Why isn't that guy in here? I'm thinking they got big plans for this kid. He's 31. He's on a really great winning streak right now. Obviously, last loss was back in 2015. Since then, he's won 7 in a row, became the ACA champion. And I believe most of those, if not all of those, 6, since his last loss, only one of those wins have even come via the weight decision. He's knocking fools out here. He has a great grappling game as well. I'd say if there is an avenue, it would just be for Corey Anderson to try to wrestle fuck him, but I don't think it's going to happen, my man. He's a very great striker at distance. He's very, very light on his feet. I'm not sure if you call this up and pick this up and watching his film, dude. He is very light in his movement. He's a pretty good gas tank as well. Man, I'm high on this kid after watching his last few fights. So I'm gonna go and take Damsan Yagomashirov, pulling the upset, and I'm very surprised that we're on the same page about this.
Oh, dude, I did my research, Josh. We both did our research
We
this
both
week.
did our research because with a name like that, you got to pay attention. Yeah, man, very very exciting. But dude, this card's pretty damn exciting. So is there any of the fights you want to go ahead and highlight?
Well, I mean, we're doing it as it's going on, sadly. But man, I wanted to highlight one Lance Gibson Jr. You would recognize that name because son of Lance Gibson, I guess technically would be senior. I don't know. I don't think he goes by senior. Who fought at UFC like 20 something back in the day, man. This is his kid. Turned pro. His stepmom is Julia Budd, who's also fighting on the card, who just got done coaching him. Yes, did you know this, Josh?
I had no idea about the storyline.
Yes, dude. Yes. Man is 4-0 now because he came with the victory. I know it kind of ruined it for the people who are listening, but hey, man, you probably know at this point what happened if you're watching this.
If you guys listen to us, you're an MMA fan anyway, so I'm not like.
Yeah, but yeah, Josh, that was my guy to keep an eye out for, and he ended up winning his fight today. So shout out to him.
Shout out to him, man, and shout out to Julia Budd. She's fighting on later on in the night, trying to get back to that title shot. She obviously was pretty dominant champ over there in Bellator, man. She defended the belt 3 or 4 times. She beat the hell out of Marlus Keenan, Telly Nogueira, Olga Rubin, and then obviously she ran into Cyborg. She showed a lot of durability, but still a tough loss. We'll see what happens if she can get back to the title picture. Obviously, it looks like Kat Zingano's going to get that title shot next, but obviously Julie Budd goes out there, puts on a good performance. Who knows, you know? Raymond Daniels, my boy, one of the kickboxing goats, taking on Peter Stonik in a rematch on this card. Very, very exciting. He is 40. So as far as him making a full foray into MMA, I don't think it's really going to happen. I don't think he's going to reach that championship level. But he has some of the dopest highlights. Like as far as he has 2 fights that have actually gone the distance since his first fight back in 2008 for Strikeforce. And those are just insane highlights, man. He's one of the goats of kickboxing. We'll see what happens. He actually just should pick up the win right now as we are talking. A dominant 30-26 victory. So you guys should go watch that fight. And then obviously Veda Ortega fighting on the main card. Big fan of her. And then Paul Daly Sabajo Mas. This one got some heat on it, man. To my knowledge, unless he's changing his mind, this is going to be Paul Daly's retirement fight. Daly, yeah.
Makes sense, though.
Yeah, he had some health issues following his last fight. So he said this is going to be his last one. 38, and he doesn't look 38. Dude still looks like how he did 15 years ago. But dude, one of the huge influences for British MMA. So it's awesome to see. It's still insane to think about because he kind of built all of his credibility off of that UFC run. Mostly that Koscheck fight. He only had 3 fights in the UFC. It does not seem like it. That he only had 3 fights in the biggest promotion, and he's made a huge career. One of the Bellator goats, in my opinion, a guy who's been around for a long time since Bellator 72. So we'll see what happens, my man. He's taking on a former UFC guy in Sabajo Masi. Came into Bellator, and he's been putting in work, my man. He's gotten 3 dubs in a row, one against Curtis Millender, the other one against Bobby Volker, 2 former UFC vets. So we'll see what happens there. Very exciting fight opening up the main card. But Angel, man, we've reached the pinnacle of this show.
Oh boy,
we've reached the pinnacle. It's been a long, winding road to get to this point, and it's going to be even longer and even windier because we're going to do the entire main card, boys. Mostly because we have to talk about the biggest draw on the card, Raycon. But before we get into that, I will talk to you guys about our sponsor of the show, Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy was founded in January 2017 to be the best gaming drink in the world. They've developed a premium stack in the form of delicious energy and focus drink. Is designed to replace unhealthy canned energy drinks, copying nutritional pre-workouts. It is sugar-free and loaded with vitamins, antioxidants, and nootropics. It was designed for the emerging professional and competitive gaming market and continues to have fantastic carryover and success of students, athletes, entrepreneurs, and anyone looking to optimize their mental and physical performance. If you want 10% off your order, use the code SOUNDOFF at checkout. It's code SOUNDOFF for 10% off of all your energy needs. Also, in case you couldn't tell what I was picking up on saying earlier, we're talking about Jake Paul, Ben Askren, the biggest, unironically, probably. I don't want to, rifle any feathers here. In the top 2, I'd say, for biggest boxing fights of the year. Is that a fair statement to say?
Well, we don't know the finalization of a couple that are coming up. I'll put it like that.
Fair enough. But even the one in my head I was thinking about was, that's why I said top 2. The only one I was thinking of was Joshua Fury.
Yes.
I'd put this slightly below that. But regardless, all that being said, we'll get into the main event in a couple of minutes. But we got some time to film, my guy. We got to go through the main card, the pay-per-view portion. $50 on Fight TV, which actually was just bought out by Triller. Triller's been making some moves, my man.
Money moves.
Money moves, to put the least. They announced some fights, which we'll actually talk about near the end of the show, that are interesting to say the least. But as far as the here and the now, tomorrow night, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, opening up the main card, we got in the light heavyweight division, Joe Fournier, the businessman, that's actually his nickname, Joe the businessman Fournier, taking on platinum recording artist coming out of Colombia, Raycon. He has no experience. There was an altercation between the two, I guess, at a club that led to this fight. Apparently, Raycon has no actual experience outside of street fighting. Joe Fournier is 8-0 as a professional boxer. Should be 9-0, but he did test positive for steroids, so 8-0 with 1 no contest. I will go ahead and say, to be fair to our boy Raycon here, all of Joe Fournier's opponents were fighters with no record or a negative record. Yes. So his record's a little bit inflated, but still 8-0. And a former, what's the belt they gave him?
Man.
WBA International Light Heavyweight Champion. So there's a former belt. the Angel Ortega money belt. So yeah, man, open to the main card. Do you have any interest in this at all? Do you think Raycon, our boy's got a shot?
I mean, dude, if the fights, you didn't fight like we said, Joe Fournier, his level of competition hasn't been the greatest, right? So it could just be putting out fools just because they're unskilled. Raycon probably doesn't have the greatest chance here if the other guy's been, at least training and competing for a while. So he's at an extreme disadvantage.
Mm-hmm. But do you think his experience coming off of the streets of Colombia will give him a chance?
Man, I hope so, bro. I hope he has something to show. Hey, come out to, dude, it could be a banger. You never know. That's the one thing. They could come out here and bang. That's the one thing we got. Some guys have heart.
Yeah, I think he's gonna show some heart. I mean, I'm a Raycon. I jokingly am calling him and giving him a lot of shit because I thought like that press conference performance is kind of really funny. When you just talk about his own experiences coming from the streets and stuff like that. I am a Raycon fan. I'm gonna go ahead and say that off the top. I'm a fan of the guy. I do think that this is probably not the smartest thing for him. But
good
we'll see what
happens.
I'm gonna go ahead and take Joe Fournier, probably via early stoppage. I mean, are you thinking the same page? Or you think that our boy's got a shot here?
I don't know, dude. It's just never know with people who don't have great experience, and then also the other guy has weird experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably I take Joe Fournier. I don't know how it's gonna happen. Probably if it's really that bad and if it's significant, probably like a finish. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. As far as next up on the card, my man, a 70-pound weight disadvantage will be on the line in a battle of MMA versus boxing. God knows we've had so many of those lately, and they've all been so fun. Frank Mir, former UFC heavyweight champion, in my opinion, one of the heavyweight GOATs, very undervalued historically, but a guy with wins over Roy Nelson, Todd Duffy, Bigfoot Silva, Big Nog twice, Crow Cop, Czech Congo, Brock Lesnar, Tank Abbott, Tim Sylvia, so on and so forth, Pete Williams. Dude is a monster. But he is making his boxing debut, originally signed for bare knuckle. He ended up making the transition to straight up boxing, six rounds against USS Steve Cunningham, former cruiserweight champ between 2007 and year of our Lord 2011. Former IBF champion who was most known for, giving Tyson Fury arguably his toughest fight. He floored him. Tyson Fury's been knocked down 3 times in his career. Twice against Deontay Wilder, which we all know about in their first fight. The other time being against cruiserweight USS Steve Cunningham, who was at another 70-pound disadvantage in that fight. Tyson Fury ended up coming back to get a knockout victory in the 7th round, but regardless, still an amazing fight if you guys have not seen it. Cunningham coming off of a 4-year layoff. Last time we saw him was on the Floyd Mayweather Conor McGregor undercard, losing a decision to Andrew Tabiti. Look, man, I like this a lot more than the original Tarver matchup. But I'm still not thinking it's gonna be a great thing for Frank Mir, man. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm on the same page, Josh. I'm on the exact same page.
I will say, the Tarver fight was originally, I don't remember the exact amount. It was going to be between 8 to 10 rounds. This being 6 rounds, I do think it gives Frank Mir a higher chance of an upset. Mir via decision is plus 1,200. So if you're looking somebody like to get in there, do some dirty boxing, maybe Mir's your guy if you're looking to throw a tenner on somebody. Especially because that's 6 rounds. They're not really giving these guys a whole lot of time to get going. I mean, it's less rounds than the main event, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. But, yeah, man, I'm thinking the same thing, though. I think Steve Cunningham here, I think he's probably going to put a beating on him. For Frank Mir's sake, I hope it's going to be – I mean, dude's securing the bag on this, so happy for him. To put it lightly, dude's deserved a payday for a while now. Obviously coming off of his Bellator stint. So I'm happy to see Frank Mir pick up a payday. Happy to see Steve Cunningham pick up a payday. These are 2 legends of the game. But that being said, I am thinking Steve Cunningham probably be a knockout, to be completely honest.
It's rough, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is rough. But as far as what's not rough, dude, co-main event. This is not controversial at all. But the best fight of this entire card. Rodriguez-Farias. 25-1, only lost via majority decision to Josh Taylor. Could arguably, I mean, he's one judge's scorecard away from being undefeated right now. Former, obviously, WBA champ. Dude with a lot of wins, a lot of great names on the resume, taking on Ivan Redkach. 23-5-1. Record's taken a bit of a hit lately, but dude's faced the top of the top for a while now. Wins over John Melinda, and then most notably, I'd say Devin Alexander. That was a banger of a fight. If you've never seen it, that was a 6-round knockout win for Ivan Redkach. El Terrible, and he most notably last fought in January 2020, losing to Danny Garcia via decision. Still a very entertaining fight regardless. So a lot of heat on this one. Who are you thinking is going to pull it out in the co-main?
Oh, man. I'm going Regis, man. I think he's got it.
Mm-hmm. I'm also going to go Regis. I'm a big fan of Ivan Redkach, but I don't think he has what it takes just in this particular fight. I think he's very much a brawler. I think Regis probably going to pick him off from the outside, which sucks because he's had a rough streak lately, just in terms of recent opponents. So I'm going to take Regis, but I'd like to see. I'm a big fan of Redkach, but dude, we finally made it. We finally made it, Angel. You and I, we talked about this saga from the beginning.
For years.
For years now. You and I were on the YouTuber boxing train before all these so-called MMA media analysts.
Right? It's crazy, dude.
We are the greatest team in MMA media. So y'all are fake fans, all right? Regardless, though. Jake Paul. The problem child, Jake Paul. Obviously, YouTuber. Vine star, made his amateur debut back in 2018 on the undercard of his brother's fight against KSI. Picked up a knockout win over KSI's brother, Deji. Now estranged brother, Deji. Since then, though, he turned professional. He's knocked out 2 of his opponents, including KSI's friend, Anderson Gibb. Knocked him out January 2020. Followed that up with a knockout win over Nate Robertson on the Mike Tyson-Roy Jones undercard, knocking out Nate in a highlight reel knockout that is still played to this day. It was devastating. He's looked dominant in his 2 fights so far. He's coming out of a great camp with Sugar Shane Mosley, who he's trained with. BJ Flores is another, and everything that we're hearing is that this kid, he's got it. You know what I mean? He may be the YouTube star, maybe the Vine star, but he has it. He has that it factor. He's got that ability to make people hate him. But he's got a lot of talent as well. He's got the power in the fists. And now he's taking on Funky Ben Askren. Yes, some of you may be sitting at home be thinking that have not been watching the storyline, in which case, where's the rock that you've been living under? But Funky Ben Askren, one of the greatest welterweights of all time, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, former 2-time NCAA champion, two-time Big 12 champion from Mizzou, former Olympian, former Hodge Trophy winner, basically the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy if you guys don't follow wrestling at all. And obviously former Bellator and 1 champion, made his name across the world, starting off 19-0, wins over Lawler, Aoki, Lima, Lyman Good, Andre Korshkov, so on and so forth. Made his UFC debut back in 2019, picking up a win over Lawler. Then obviously having the infamous 5-second knockout against Masvidal, and then losing to Damian Maia, retiring due to hip issues. However, he has got a brand new hip. He's good to go. And stepping up to the task of taking on Jake Paul. He's put in very little striking training outside of this 12-week camp. So, Angel, man, I've been very conflicted about this in the lead up. I've been very conflicted on fight week. I'm conflicted right now sitting before you. However, who do you got in the main events of Jake Paul, Ben Askren, and why?
Well, let's talk about it first, man. Look, I'll tell you this. There is probably thousands of other fighters that could have been put in this position, and you would have picked them undoubtedly against Jake Paul. Right?
Most of them, yes.
Yes. No, let's be real, Josh. There's a lot of guys. There's thousands of guys. You could have picked probably most of the UFC roster over Ben Askren to win this fight easily, right, Josh?
I'll say this: if you gave me Damian Maia, I'd even pick Damian Maia comfortably.
Really?
Well, people forget. I mean, Damian Maia tuned up Colby Covington on the feet. I mean, dude actually had hands by the end of his career, but he's still one of the worst UFC strikers.
Yes. That's the thing. Instead, and then we are given Ben Askren, who, if Ben Askren had any sort of decent or somewhat good striking, we would pick him. You would pick him undoubtedly right now, right, Josh?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, not even close.
The fact that there's even doubt makes me think you shouldn't even pick Ben Askren right now, Josh.
Well, listen, let me go ahead and explain myself real quickly. There's never the reason why there's doubt for me. It's kind of going in the other direction. On paper, Jake should win this. Take the names out of it, right? Take the names out of this just for 1 minute. You have a guy training with former world champions, training because he's a millionaire. He's training with some of the best that there is to offer. Training with guys like Sugar Shane Mosley, training with BJ Flores, so on and so forth. These world class trainers. He has amazing facilities at his hands. Guys like Zab Judy, even Mike Tyson are taking up for him, man. Take the names out of it, right? And then on the other side, you have this guy who's been training boxing for 12 weeks. But he does have an amazing chin, an amazing gas tank, an amazing wrestling pedigree, and an ability to pick up things quickly, and he's a former disc golf world champion. So he has all these attributes. So it's very conflicting through that way, or just in of itself, because it's on paper, taking the names out of it, Jake Paul should be the piss out of him. But I know who these two dudes are. I know that Jake Paul is not a fighter. I understand. Yeah, he's had 3 fights. I'm sure he's been in some gym wars, but he's not, in Ben Askren words, he's not a fighter. He's not faced any sort of adversity. He's never fought anybody that's good. Ben Askren has. He knows what it's like to come back from adversity. He knows what it's like to fight for 24 and a half minutes and to keep on, for 20 minutes, to keep on going, to keep on pushing into that 5th year, that 6th year, to keep on pushing. Does Jake Paul have that? I don't know. That's why there's debate for me.
Yep. And the other thing, dude, is the big thing we're gonna find out really early on is how's Jake gonna deal when a guy doesn't fold on him? Is he gonna fold? How's he gonna deal with when adversity strikes, when the guy doesn't go down soon, when you're not superior to your opponent, when you're significantly better than the guy or have just a lot more experience? Because that's the thing, right? We don't know how he's gonna react to someone who just won't go down against him, who won't give up. That's the thing. That's the big deal. Because, in all his other fights, you could have probably picked him confidently. He's a more athletic guy, spent more time training, all that. But the thing is, this is a guy who's not going to fold against him. It's a guy who's not going to give up, and is not going to just give up. That's the big thing. It's all going to come down to how he reacts to that moment. If he's and dude, we don't know what's going to happen. What if it comes out here and he's fucking fighting on the outside, sticking it to him, going in and we don't know what level we're going to see. Because we haven't seen more than outside of the probably, 3 rounds? for him. I think how far do you make it with Deji? Probably third, fourth round.
I mean, 3 rounds professionally, and then 3 or 4 rounds against Deji.
And they were shorter too back then. And even then, the guy who boxed Deji then is not the guy who's boxing now.
Yeah,
that's the big issue. I'm very conflicted, man. But I'm on the same boat as you, dude. I'm very undecisive. But you know something? Right here on the show, Josh, I'm gonna put it out. I'm picking Jake Paul.
Really?
Yes. I don't think it's smart. I don't think picking any of these guys is smart. But I'm picking Jake Paul right here on the podcast, Josh. Right here on this day before, man, the 16th. I'm putting it out there.
You know what's interesting? You mentioned picking none of these guys is smart. I feel like every single one of these fights has like a clear favorite, but there's a little something that can like maybe all these fights.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Raycon, you don't know what he's gonna do because we don't know his experience level. Mir, because he has a big weight advantage and he's been competing in MMA. He hasn't been boxing, but he has like big fact he's been fighting in MMA. Ivory Cox just because he has so much power. And then on Ben Askren, Jake Paul, I'm not sure which either one you can give the A side advantage to. But I see the argument both ways. I'm gonna, man, this is tough. I'm gonna go funky Ben Askren to pull off the upset, my man.
What is it gonna be, Josh? What is it gonna be? I know you like doing it.
I'm calling 7th round TKO. Now, let me go and preface this by saying I'm going off of what I've heard from both sides. Because obviously we've seen very little out of Ben. We saw him in the open workouts, and I was like, oh, he looks kind of like a bot. Like, he does not look great, but for what his strategy is, which he said a million times, yeah, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna wear him down. I'm a former NCAA champ. Even in the open workouts, he hit mitts for 20 minutes, did not break a sweat. Dude, he's one of those freak athletes. You know what I mean? And going off of what Freddie Roach has said about him and how everybody's, he seemingly has, I mean, just from watching MMA fights, the dude's strong as fuck. If he leverages...
I'm not going to lie, Josh, though. I did hear that he was with Freddie Roach for a very short amount of time.
It was 8 days, but if Freddie Roach comes out of that giving you a glowing endorsement, I'm going to take that as Freddie Roach thinking this guy has talent. Now, he was working with, I forget the name of his head coach, but you know what I mean? He just to even be down there and for Freddie Roach to give his honest opinion about him, like, yeah, dude can crack. He's probably going to knock out Jake Paul. Like, I'm like, oh, that's a good endorsement. And Ben Askren is a super strong guy. If he leverages some of these shots, especially in the later rounds, which is what I'm expecting, I think he's probably going to finish him. Jake Paul is it all comes down to this, man. And this is something I've heard out of a couple of different stories. I've heard a couple of different stories just from MMA fighters about him sparring. Most notably from Luis Pena, Anthony Pretty Boy Taylor, and then I forget his name, man. Just recently got cut from the UFC, but he actually sparred with Jake. Marcus Perez, who actually gave a story about Jake has power. He's fast. He has good attributes, but you really just have to hit him once with a jab, and he backs off. That's what Muniz says. Taylor pretty much said the same thing. Like, yeah, you just need to hit him a couple times, and the kid backs off. He gets he's not good at taking any sort of punishment. We'll see what happens, man. If he's willing to face that adversity, I think this fight is so huge now. When the lights shine brightest, we'll see which of these guys show up. I think it's gonna be Ben Askren. I'm gonna take Askren via. He keeps on saying 7th round TKO. I'm gonna go ahead and say something similar. I'm gonna go ahead and say late round TKO. But that being said, I will not be even the slightest bit surprised if we're sitting here next week talking about how Jake Paul he went out there, landed a flurry. He doesn't even need to knock Ben Askren down. I mean, hypothetically, he could just go out there and land a big flurry and hit him hard a couple times, and then boom, we're sitting here, completely different story, TKO, ref stoppage.
One of these guys could go to this. They could both go to distance, dude. We could have a war. We don't know. Maybe they'll both come out and bang. You know?
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, I think the most likely result, if you were like, you ever watch that show? Let me actually look up the name of this show. But it was like, if you were to ask me to run a simulation 100 times. Of this fight, I think the most likely result.
Wait, are you talking about like Deadliest Warrior?
Yes, thank you.
Oh my god,
dude, watch that show?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that show was awesome. You know, like they would run simulations and shit. If you run this fight 100 times, I think the most likely scenario is Jake Paul comes out firing early, because he's a guy that has done that in his last few fights. He's very, very confident. He knows that he has the weight advantage, a bit of a height advantage. It could be a little bit different whenever Jake's not wearing lifts. But it's going to be, that's not even just a joke. Jake's been wearing lifts last time. But it's going to be a different fight. I think if you run this fight 100 times, Jake's going to come out firing early. He's going to be confident. He's going to be cocky. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I just think that's what's going to happen. And I think Ben's going to weather the storm. He's going to clinch. Now, I will say this also. It depends on the referee they have. Mm-hmm. Some referees allow clinching. Some of them don't. But I think what's going to happen, Ben's going to dirty box. He's going to clinch him. He's going to land a lot of body shots. He's going to start leveraging some of those shots upstairs. And that chin and that gas tank's going to come in spades. And I think he's going to finish him late on, really, really late in the fight. You can prepare in the gym for going. This is 8 rounds, so that would be 24 minutes. You can prepare all day in the gym for that, but only Ben Askren's actually done that in a fight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Ben Askren here. I think no matter what, if this goes to a decision, Jake wins. Am I crazy for saying that?
I don't know, dude. I wouldn't be, we'll see, dude. It's too much pressure right now, Josh. I'm fucking, you don't understand how I feel right now. We're not even watching it. Right now? Dude, I do. It's fucking KSI versus Logan Paul all over again, dude.
Well, we gave a 30-minute analysis on that show, so I think it's only fitting that we're spending 30 minutes on this too. Yeah, man. Well,
that is the thing. Dude, at the end of the day, though, it's a different discipline. That's also the thing we got to think about, right? Regardless of what you say, what Ben did in MMA is not going to ever really compare what he'll do in boxing on that night.
No, not at all. Not
at all.
I agree.
Except it's just
I will say that he has the experience of competing as a professional athlete and going the distance is pretty much what I was saying.
And boxing cardio different than MMA cardio.
For sure. I mean? We saw that in Conor fight.
And
that's a bad example. Conor always gasses, but you know what I mean.
And then even then, they're both going to have to deal with that if that ends up being a thing. It's going to be who pulls through the adversity. That's what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. Who shows up on that night and really brings it. There's just too much riding on this dude because they're both really big question marks. With everything given, right? Mm-hmm. We'll see. A lot of people are like, dude, the fuck do you mean Ben's going to come out here and blast this kid? But there's some people who are saying like, dude, I don't know. That's what
we're doing, man. I have no idea. I actually don't have a clue.
We don't have a clue. I think once it happens, dude, and once we talk about it afterwards, it'll be like, okay, now it all makes sense, right? We saw this, we saw that, Until it happens, that's when we'll know. Obviously.
Yeah, man, it's going to be interesting just because there's so many different avenues I could see this fight going. And there's so many unknowns because, Ben Askren, let me go and say this, man. Whenever he was first showing highlights, I'm like, dude, I could strike better than this. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you were thinking the same thing, too. He looked – part of me wonders if he was sandbagging because of how bad he looked. You know what I mean?
But he looked but he said this too. I remember he said it. He's like, I've always just been kind of awkward when it came to everything. Like how I do everything, it just looks kind of awkward, or weird, or however you want to say it. So it might just be that too, man. But man, even then, dude, you still kind of question it.
Mm-hmm. No, and for sure. And I've heard him giving the explanation of like, I was coming off of hip surgery. I sat on my ass for 15 months. I haven't done anything competitive, so on and so forth, where it's like, I looked terrible when I first started, but that was 4 months ago. So, who really knows if that kind of working in day out, that's going to be enough. And now, obviously, he does have very limited MMA striking experience, but who is that? He also has that as well to kind of fall back on. For me, it kind of just comes down to the fact that, will he be able to go ahead and impose his will and gas Jake out? Because early on, I'm absolutely sure that Jake's going to beat his ass. I am 100% sure early on Jake's going to put it on him unless just the moment gets to it. Just because, the moment of this fight's huge, dude. I'm seeing this fight everywhere right now. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's everywhere. People are talking about it.
We'll talk about fucking anything, but
but I'm not even talking about us. I'm talking about other just people, dude. People are generally talking about this, and this has people are backing it, dude. People are talking about it.
I mean, the biggest way to tell is
it's a big event.
Yeah, I mean, we both have friends that don't really follow MMA that much, or boxing rather, either sport. And the easiest way to tell if a fight's big, if they bring up a fight every single time. And I've gotten this a couple of times whenever Conor fought, most notably always, and now whenever Jake's fighting, I'm getting it too. So.
No, when JJ fought, that was another time.
Exactly, that one as well. But even more, dude, it's just it's insane that the fact that this fight has so much hype behind it. Like I would never expect in a million years just for us to be sitting here having this conversation. Because I remember when this fight was first announced, I vividly remember me shitting on it because Well,
you remember the rumors though. Remember at the time we didn't know who was going to be, and we were talking about that. That was a big talking point.
I remember thinking Ben Askren is the worst possible option. But instead, him just playing the straight man of just kind of talking shit, but really kind of not he talks shit in the way Chael Sonnen does. He doesn't really cuss. He kind of just makes you feel like a dumbass because he's a really smart dude. He's a really smart guy. He just treats Jake like he's a child. He just treats him like his disappointed dad.
I mean, Josh, it is the problem child he is talking to.
He is talking to the problem child. So it fits perfectly in terms of promotion for Ben to kind of be this B-side who's just killing it on the mic and just kind of making fun of him. I mean, there were so many lines coming out of the first press conference that were just hilarious. Whenever Jake was talking about how he's gonna coach his kids one day, and Ben just goes, "Somebody's gonna let you have kids?" Shit like that. I thought was really, really funny. So yeah, man, Chiller's been killing the. To go ahead and segue to our last topic, Triller's been killing the promotion for this fight. You and I are very, very excited for it. I mean, I'm getting the pay-per-view, my guy. I'm hyped for it.
Are you really, Josh? I might have to come over, my guy.
I don't know. Actually, I haven't made up my mind. But
I mean, we could always split it, Josh. If you don't want to pay the full amount, I'd be down for that.
We don't pay fucking. We're going to a local Buffalo Wild Wings and don't pay nothing.
Exactly, right? You're gonna go to your local Buffalo Wild Wings? Is that the move?
But Chiller's been killing the promotion. But as part of this fight week, they've been hyping up the next Triller fight card. This one's going down June 5th. Obviously, Teofimo Lopez main eventing, huge card, pay-per-view card. Co-main event just got announced, my man. Bit of a curious one. And I want to get your opinion on it. Obviously, Mike Tyson's been talking a lot about how him and Evander are going to do an exhibition. Evander's been saying no, that actually Mike doesn't want it, and so on and so forth. Instead of getting Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield 3 in an exhibition, we are now getting Evander Real Deal Holyfield, the 50-plus Evander Holyfield.
I think he's 59, dude. Nice shit, you're not.
Really? Hold on, 58. 58-year-old Evander Holyfield in an exhibition. And he's not actually fighting. He's pretty much just sparring. But 58-year-old Evander Holyfield taking on Kevin McBride, the last man to defeat Iron Mike Tyson. And I put defeat very lightly. That fight was shit if you guys have ever watched it. Basically, Mike was kind of just beating his ass, but he ended up He got deducted 2 points. He was still winning, and then after the 8th round, he was like, "I'm done, man. I'm done." Regardless, though, 6th round exhibition, co-main event to Teofimo. I mean, do you have, as far as Triller fights have been announced, I'd say whenever they announced Tarver Mir, that was the weirdest one. This is the worst one. Is it just me?
Has a weird story to it. I don't know. Maybe it's a spiteful thing he's doing. I don't know.
I mean, he said he couldn't get Tyson, so he wanted to get the guy who last beat Tyson. But I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you've been following what Tyson's saying, I like Mike Tyson's podcast, so I listen to that.
I like Mike Tyson.
Hot boxing, really great podcast. He was like, yeah, me and Evander are gonna fight. It's gonna be a good thing. And then seemingly here's the thing. I saw a conflicting report that those two were gonna be on the undercard, and then seemingly last second, here it is Kevin McBride instead. So
who knows what
kind
happened?
of strange. But yeah, man, I mean, as far as it goes, I personally don't have a whole lot of interest, but I do have a lot of interest in the fight that is happening tomorrow night on pay-per-view.
Dude, we're a day away, man.
You're feeling it, man. Whenever fights like this happen, you just feel it. You can feel that it's a big one. And it feels weird because it's Ben Askren against Jake Paul, but
dude, I'll give you in the last as far as intensity, dude, a fucking Loma and a fucking Teofimo, Izzy, Jan, Connor, Dustin, and a fucking KSI Logan Paul, dude, had been some of this shit that's made my palms sweaty, dude. My knees are weak, my arms are heavy. There's bobbing on my sweater already, Josh.
Mom spaghetti. He's nervous, but on the cervix. Yeah, man, I'm feeling it too, dude. I'm for real. I'm feeling it. I can't remember the last time I was just like, I don't want to say pumped, but I'm so anxious. This fight just gives me anxiety, bro.
I think truly for me it was KSI Logan Paul, dude. Like this kind of feeling I have now. And then when I watch the actual fight, it's gonna be the same exact kind of emotion.
Yeah, that's fair enough, man. I mean, I am very, I don't know, I'm very conflicted about it. I'm very excited, but I'm very, I'm like anxious, bro. Like, I want it to just be a fun one. Even if it's terrible, I think it'll be funny. You know what I mean?
I don't know, dude. I don't think it can be bad. That's the thing.
Oh, it's one of those.
Yeah, I think it's impossible.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm excited for the production side because they killed it last time with Mike's fight, but
oh, dude, they're gonna kill it again. They literally have Justin Bieber there.
they do. They got the Biebs, man. They got the Biebs.
Yeah, dude, they got the fucking Biebs. They got Doja Cat. They got fucking. Don't they have the Black Eyed Peas there too?
I have no idea. I honestly.
I know they have a lot of fucking people lined up though. That's the thing.
I don't. Yeah, it's weird how many they have lined up. Like it's just. It's kind of strange. I'm not into the whole musical aspect. Now I will say Snoop killed it last time, as did Wiz, but not into like the Bieber and the Doja Cat thing. That's just not my thing personally.
Dude, someone will be a fan of it.
I'm sure. But yeah, man. I mean, is there anything else you want to say on this topic or anything else before we close out?
Dude, no, just excited for tomorrow. I can't wait to talk to you about it on that night, and then when we talk about it next week. And then next week I got a big fucking pay-per-view on the UFC, dude. Huge fucking pay-per-view, dude. Sold out arena. I mean, Josh, I know we didn't talk about any MMA news, dude. Connor and Dustin, dude, got announced, like officially.
Yeah,
sold out with fans.
On that. Sold out Vegas. Dude, shout out. Dustin Poirier is such a nice guy. He apologized for Conor McGregor acting like a dick. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys don't know, Conor McGregor basically, Dustin Poirier, they fought back in January. Conor McGregor is gonna fight and donate his fight purse, or at least a portion of it, to Dustin Poirier's charity, the Good Fight Foundation, which is, a lot of his former opponents have done that. Habib donated without even being prompted, just $500K after the fight. Now Habib's not everybody; he's great people's. Conor just didn't donate. There's a whole kerfuffle about it. Said he wasn't gonna fight him. Now it's official. Now they're fighting, man. I mean,
that's a real fight.
Yeah, I'm hyped for it. And now we got asshole Conor back, and like obviously I don't want asshole Conor who's like beating up old people.
What do you mean, dude? I love asshole Conor, dude. He fucking throws dollies at cars.
That's the one. Like
that was the worst, wasn't it? That was the worst.
I mean, let's go and look at this and like, okay, so old guy, right? Maybe old guy said some shit. You should not be. It doesn't matter if you're 50, you're not exempt from getting those hands. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the full story. Rape stuff has not been proven. There's been a couple of accusations.
We didn't talk about the accusations on Logan Paul, or not the Logan, Jake Paul.
Yeah, I consider from everything I've heard, that's a complete non-story from what I've heard. Apparently, Jake's going to sue for defamation.
It's still allegations, though. We're not going to get into it, but there has been some allegations that came out.
There has been some allegations. That could also be in his head right now, as that's also another thing to think about. So, yeah, he talked about that on Logan's show too. So, yeah, man, he's got that going on. Dude's got some issues, but yeah, man. So Conor, let's go back to Conor real quick, man. Like he had the whole rape thing that actually got dismissed in one of those cases. He has like 4 of them. But one of them got dismissed this past week. Yeah, man, I consider the dolly thing to be by far the worst. I mean, he took out 3 fights on that card.
That's kind of impressive, though.
It kind of is, but it's also like,
dude, 3 finishes without even getting to the main card.
Like he has to pull out because he was bleeding everywhere. He got blood. Like he was bleeding from the forehead on embedded. Ray Borg got glass in his eye. Yep. And that was also when Ray Borg's like child was having medical issues and he had to fight to pay. Like he was needing to fight. I'm sure the UFC paid him regardless, but you know what I mean? Probably. Like it was fucked up. Like,
Dude, that's almost as like that is almost impressive as Rudy Gobert locking up the whole league.
Oh fuck. Yeah, man. How is he not defensive player of the year, man? He took out the whole league for a whole year. Like he shut him down.
Oh god.
It was hilarious. Well, aren't the Jazz number 1 now?
Currently, yes, but the Suns are chasing it right now.
Suns are coming up. Suns are coming for that ass.
Coming for that first seed. You know the vibes.
I'm telling you right now. Suns are gonna win the Western Conference. Just saying. Clippers too inconsistent. Lakers too injured. Gonna happen. I'm speaking it into existence.
I love to hear it, Josh. You're hyping me up.
For sure. I got to. I mean, this is the first time you guys have made the playoffs, and seemingly since I've been watching the NBA, you guys.
Granted, Josh, I haven't watched the NBA for the longest time either, so.
I mean, 6 years.
Exactly.
So we'll go and put it like that. But yeah, man, a lot of fun for these fights going on, man. I'm very, very excited. We're getting into like the fun portion right now, man. It's starting to hit. We're hitting the springtime. Summer will be here soon. Vaccines are getting out. I was supposed to get mine on Wednesday, but it got canceled. Fucking Johnson & Johnson. But vaccines are going around, man. Fights are heating up. Crowds are back. We have an amazing fight tomorrow. Very, very excited, man. Any closing words on just the fights going on? Anything?
No, just let's go, champ. I'm so ready. I'm so pumped.
So ready, so pumped. As always, guys, appreciate all the support we've been getting on the channel. The Triller stuff's actually been killing it the most, which you can kind of tell whenever fights are big also, just sort of like a media guy. Like, you can tell which of our videos are doing the best, and it's always just the Triller stuff. Bellator is getting washed out. Like, our podcast isn't even doing that amazing. But Triller interviews are getting like 200 plus each time. So appreciate the support, guys. At Courtside Sound, one of you guys want to follow the Twitter, Courtside Soundoff on Instagram. I'm at Josh Evanoff. He is at Angel Ortega _01. Appreciate all you guys watching as always. Peace and bud grease. Mouse click.